right, recording in progress. Excellent. That's what I like to hear. Well, welcome and thanks for being here. Thanks for getting out of the house or carving out time in your day for this. We're going to be starting off our back bodies, and we're going to be taking our blocks. You're going to plant your feet, raise your hips. You'll take your block with you. You've got a soft one or a hard one. I'm happy to deliver you other things. And you're going to be placing it under the sacral triangle. So that's that bony triangle at the top of the butt. You do not want it here. So lay down first, and then raise the hips. Tuck that block in under. Give your weight to it. And I want to remind you, there are two distinct versions of our body position. One is with the knees bent, one is with the legs straight. They're both valuable. And unless your body just is like very uncomfortable in one of them, I encourage you to explore each of them for at least a few breaths. The one with the knees bent is helping our low back kind of traction. So if you're somebody who maybe stands a little bit with an arch or a sway back, or you sit a lot, this kind of tractioning can be really, really wonderful. The one with the legs draped is actually allowing an opening of the front line of the body. And a lot of us get very tight here in the psoas muscle and the hip flexors. Again, if you sit a lot, maybe you just took a long trip, a variety of things can bring that on, even, spending a lot of time chopping wood or what have you. In any of these postures, one of the best things that we can do is bring that slow, deep and wide yogic breath. And actually, you know what? Let's start off with our 3 sighing breaths, kind of get the amygdala to soften. Inhaling slow, deep and wide through the nose. With each exhale, there's a sense of affirming. I am well, I am whole, I am safe. There's nothing I need to do or accomplish. I did it. I'm here on my mat. So you might even notice, what are the textures of those exhales like? What has life been like? How much hurry and worry? Once you feel complete with sighing breaths, we'll come into that slower, deeper, wider breath. I'm going to invite you in a couple of points of introversion to help keep the attention in the breath and body. First, crossing your eyes up and in as if you're trying to see behind the center of the forehead or between the eyebrows, somewhere in there. Lightly connecting the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth behind the front teeth, and inviting a great softness through the rest of the tongue and jaw. Perhaps space between the upper and lower molars. I like to imagine I'm holding something delicate in the mouth, and maybe even I had a soft smile. Notice how that shifts me out of doer energy. So as we're continuing, at any point you might feel like the block support is complete. If you're starting to take on tension, or you can no longer seek the in that shape, just come off of your block. And we'll continue with breath attention. I'm going to have you add ujjayi, great sounding breath. So as you contract your throat a little bit, like you're fogging a mirror or you're about to clear your throat, the breath will move through and make the kind of whooshing sound of wind or waves. And this is one of my favorite tools for sweeping the surface of my rather active mind, clear and calm. So with these points of introversion in place, begin now to watch the breath, the rising and settling of the breath wave. You might ask, is there more? Just to hold your attention to the breath. Is there more inhale? Is there more exhale? Has the mind wandered? That's its nature. Using all those tools, or just one if you have a favorite, like Ujjayi or the inner seeing, bring it back. I like also looking for the gap or pause that exists between the two parts of the breath, the inhale, exhale. Continuing with that kind of attention and presence, we're going to begin to deepen the exhale and inhale and engage the core. So the next time you're exhaling, please slowly draw the abdomen towards the spine, anchor the low back into the floor. It's like you're pushing in a scale or squishing breath or air out of an old air mattress. Emptying, emptying until there's nothing. Then allow the inhale to breathe you, sipping in a little extra at the very end. If you're a chronic chest breather or shrugger, you're gonna have to be really careful that you don't think so much about sipping in extra inhale, because most people will then tend to shrug. We want it to come as an overflowing of that big abdominal breath. Yeah, you guys sound great. I'm hearing some ocean waves. I love it. For those of us who have a hard time communicating with maybe the low abdominal muscles, for example, just taking your hands there and telling those muscles, hey, I'm talking to you, kind of poking them, can do wonderful things to wake them up. We'll continue with compression and expansion breathing, as I call it. And I'm going to invite you to add rock pose. So rock pose is where we tighten all the muscles of the body. So the next time you're exhaling slowly and emptying and squishing down, squeeze the hands into fists, the arms into the sides, shoulders down, butt cheeks, thighs, you're making like stiff as a board. And when you sense there's nothing left, relax. Maybe you're inspired to sweep arms overhead on the inhale along the floor. Is there more? Exhaling, sweeping out and down, rock pose. Invitation to add a sit-up motion. So if you're like, oh man, I just am loving this and I want to add more strengthening and heat building, let that upper body come off the floor. Like you want to look at your amazing feet. If your neck is pretty tight today, I would just leave that head on the floor, focus on the other tightening, and maybe even roll the head side to side. Again, this is great for chronic neck tightener shruggers, so that we begin to learn how to use our center body and our power without taking on stress and strain. Do just a couple more like this to your timing always. See if you can anchor those shoulders a little further down the back. Last one here. And that next inhale, inviting you to just sweep arms overhead and begin organically reaching, rolling wrists and ankles, and maybe yawning. Kind of imagine you're waking your body up for the first time today. We'll guide the right knee into the belly, release wind pose. Heels are flexed, reaching as far apart as possible. Elbows in, shoulders down. Big belly breath as we try to bring our thigh into the abdomen. You can always add a sit-up motion here on the exhale as well. Or you can keep this a little more of a relaxed exploration and just wiggle that knee a little side to side. Last week I had you do a take the knee to the left and the head to the right, and the knee to the right, head to the left. And that's a lovely, gentle twisting motion. Everyone inhaling, when it comes, extend that right leg to the sky, so you're making an L with the feet, with the legs. Exhaling, root that low body and slowly descend that right leg. Staying soft in the neck, maybe rolling side to side if you're not sure. Melting with gravity. Inhaling, guiding the left knee into the belly. Feet flexing so firmly, I hope that your right foot might even come off the floor. If you press through the heel and you power down through the thigh, you might feel your heel pop up. And your opportunity to either add, exhale, those sit-up motions, in which case you might lift that right leg all the way off the floor, or just doing that beautiful side to side pulsing of the knee and the head. On a long inhale, extending that left leg to the sky. And, you know, for some of us, this may not be a stretch. For others of us, it's like, whew, breathe into that. I would be in that camp, by the way. Exhaling, root the low back and don't give it up as you slowly descend the leg. Is there more? Is there more? More rooting, more breath, and then reaching the floor and melting. We're then going to come into our bridge pose, and I find it really helpful because we're going to be coming in and out a number of times to take your block and place it between the thighs, kind of just above the knees. We love to have our feet right below the knees, so just kind of sense that best you can. And working your shoulder blades towards the spine before we even begin creates a beautiful little tunnel for that cervical spine. Take a nice long inhale, slow, deep and wide. Exhaling, belly to spine, spine to floor, and then the hips curl up and we press the hips off the floor into our bridge. Is there more? When the inhale comes, please descend glacially slow. This is powerful. This is using those muscles and waking them up in some really new ways. Enjoy the fullness of each inhale before exhaling, rooting and rising. If you're feeling pressure in the neck, try lifting the chin up and back a little bit. And scan your body. Do you sense, is any part of the foot coming away? Try to anchor really through the inner line of the foot. So if you're kind of prone towards neck tightening in this movement, especially in the descent, make sure you're not propping or controlling with your head. We use our head in the weirdest ways that doesn't help us, and it just takes on extra tension. But if we want that to change, that sense of noticing is critical. You guys look great. Let's do just a couple more. Listening, noticing. Next time you've released your hips to the floor, take the block out and come into your happy baby. So you're going to bring the knees towards you and wide, and you're either going to grab hold of the big toe, the blades of the feet, the ankles, or some people love the power that having a strap across the arches can give. One thing I'd like you to check in with, can you tilt your tailbone towards the floor and anchor your shoulders as well? And taking deep, deep breath in. Okay, do that. Great. Yeah. As you take that deep breath in, I'm hoping you feel it down into the hips. Again, see if you can keep your tailbone rooting towards the floor so the spine is long on the mat versus curled up. Nice. We'll bring those heels together in butterfly now. If you're using a strap, you can keep it on and bring the ends together and use that to pull towards you. Or you can release and just clasp the feet if they're within reach. We'd like to bring the heels towards the butt, keeping those knees wide, neck relaxed. And you can just breathe or add some little pulsings. I like to bring one foot towards the head and then the other. And when I do that, it'll kind of roll me a little side to side. And it's good. I feel like I'm getting a little low back massage. Some people like adding a sit-up and actually trying to bring their nose and their toe together. Not saying that'll happen, just the movement can feel good. All right, now we're gonna release those feet for bridge pose without the block, but we're gonna imagine there's one there because that helps keep that inner line active. Come on up, place the hands on the hip bones. Once again, work the shoulder blades in just a little bit. We're gonna come into a foot hover, just releasing one foot from the floor, about an inch, and then the other. Going back and forth, tuning in. One hip might have a tendency to drop. If that happens, we reignite the power in the standing leg and butt and see if we can even those hip bones out. Breathing. And then slowly, slowly descending. Let's bring knees to belly, a nice little hug. We're gonna do a little mini robot here before we come onto our hands. I find that smaller is definitely more powerful here, at least to start with. If you want to make it bigger after the first round, go for it. For now, knees are towards the belly. We're gonna power down through that low back. And then I'm gonna take my legs parallel but not touching, feet flexed. And then slowly take the knees away from you until they arrive above the hip joints, but without releasing that low back. And then you can have your arms to the ceiling, or sometimes people like them on the thighs as kind of a reference point, because we want to only move one leg at a time and the other one will want to compensate and move. Take a nice big inhale. Exhale, that low back rooted. Take one knee away from you a few inches and breathe here, what I call in-flight breathing. Big belly breath, and then come on back. Another long inhale. You can always relax everything if it gets too funky. Exhale, root, and take that other leg away from you. Just a few inches. Hoping you're feeling good and subtle work in that low abdomen in particular. And come on back. Again, take a break whenever you'd like. On this next round, if you'd like to continue and add the arm in the opposite direction, go for it. This is where you can feel a little uncoordinated, like the other arm's moving, your other knee's moving, you're like, hey, I didn't tell you. So being a discombobulated robot is a little fun, I think. Take a nice long inhale and always exhale root before you take your next set of limbs moving. One knee moving away from you, opposite arm reaching behind. And if you don't love that breathing in flight thing, then you would just inhale, your limbs extend, and exhale, bring it back to the starting position. So totally up to you. I like the in-flight because it gives me a chance in part to scan my body and notice what I'm doing. You guys look great. Keeping the heels flexed here can help, so reignite that heel flexion unless it's bothering your shin bones or something. Awesome. At this point, you should kind of be craving a break. If you're not, you're probably doing it wrong, or you're just weirdly strong in that part of the body. Awesome, folks. Bring knees to belly or whatever feels good to you. And then we're going to spinal rock up onto hands and knees, or however you want to get there. Intelligent hand position. So we've got middle finger straight forward, the other finger's wide. Generally, we want those hands right under our shoulders. But if you want to take them a little bit wide, that can make it easier on your trapezius muscle if that's an area of tension. Let's inhale, cow pose. Tilt the tailbone back. Heart draws forward. Exhaling, tuck the tailbone and let the head hang. Letting breath initiate motion. Inhaling, tailbone back, heart forward. Is there more? Exhaling, tucking the tailbone. That very last bit of breath can create a wonderful massage on that inhale. See if you can be patient enough to wait for it. On that next exhale, we're going to move to downward facing dog. I usually like a longer stance, so I'm just going to start with my hands a little forward. And you can always adjust once you're there. Knees bent to start with. I want you to wiggle your hips just a little side to side. And see with those knees bent pretty deeply, if you get a more liberated line from hands to hips. Yeah, letting the head go. And then you might play with pedaling one heel towards the floor and then the other. Nice. Awesome. That really helps stabilize the shoulders. That looks amazing. Take, if you have enough shoulder happiness here, take 3 sighing breaths. Big inhale. Feels a little weird when you're upside down, by the way. Yeah, exhale, let it go. Yeah, anything you've been carrying just isn't useful to you right now. Then we're going to inhale forward into essentially a plank, but then drop our knees to knee down plank. So get nice and long in your plank, drop those knees. Beautiful. Very slowly, we're going to do a little upward facing dog on the knees. So I want you to draw the heart forward, shoulders down your spine, as you think about letting your hips settle towards the floor a little bit. If you squeeze your glutes as you're doing this, it'll support that low back. Exhaling, press back to either your child's pose or your downward facing dog. So you get to decide kind of how intensive you want to be on your shoulders and wrists today. Inhaling, flowing forward again at some point. Upward facing dog on the knees. Exhaling, child's pose or downward facing dog. We'll do a couple more. Maybe you're ready to do upward facing dog on the feet. If so, again, you're just basically coming forward into your plank. Keep those thighs active, pressing towards the sky as you draw your heart forward. Last time. And then please slowly walk those hands back to the feet to arrive in your ragdoll. Knees are bent, body draping. Expansive inhale here, you might feel it in your thighs and your hips. Get greedy. Next inhale, hands on shin bones, extending halfway up. Exhaling, tucking the tailbone to sit to our chair pose. Neck is soft. And you could be in bar stool, you might be going deep, whatever feels good. When you come up, a nice root and rise, big glute squeeze, pushing the ceiling away. Exhaling, prayer hands. We're going to bring those hands around behind in Yoga Mudra. So intertwining the fingers and seeing if you can send your fists towards the floor. And if you can't quite get those arms straight, that's where taking a strap, a sweater, sleeve, whatever you want, a sock, letting your hands come a little bit apart can give you that freedom. Because what I want us all to feel is the shoulder blades winging in towards the spine. That's where you get that massage experience. And then we can pump, pressing the hands off the hips, returning. Oh, there's so much liberation available for the neck when we do this. I love it. Everything's slow. If you would like, you could take your feet wide and then fold and let gravity do a little bit. Again, please, no fast movements. We've got a lot of small connection points and nerve fibers that run through all these zones in the neck and shoulders. You feel complete, we'll all meet upright. We're going to do a little kidney kidney energy movement. So feet in kind of what I consider an athletic stance. They're not a straddle, but you're not in mountains, so just kind of comfortable and rooted. And we're going to begin letting the arms sweep. So this is a Tai Chi technique, and I think they call it empty jacket sleeves. So you kind of pretend that when you're turning your body that you have like a blazer on, but your arms aren't in the sleeves, and the sleeves just go swinging out. You're letting that backhand walk right at the kidney. So it's kind of right below the ribs there. Obviously, if this is too sore, adjust your position and your intensity. Otherwise, feel free to tune into the experience. Notice your breath. Here we're intentionally igniting some circulation in our kidneys, but one of the things I've always said I love so much about yoga is that we're always working stuff that we don't know we are. Detoxifying organs, massaging our nervous system into a happier zone. You might notice there's also some gentle spinal twisting happening. Hopefully that feels great. If you feel any discomfort around the knees, consider just doing a little more of a knee bend in that kind of athletic stance that I mentioned. A few more. Kidneys, by the way, the organs that are the organs that are associated with fear energy in Chinese medicine. So if you've been carrying any kind of fear around, etc., this is a nice time to just tell your body and being that it's all right. Figure out what you need to do to believe that. With your eyes closed, if you can, just slowly let that relax. And then please create your jet airplane arms, shoulder heads rotating down and back, palms open. I invite you to tune in to what you've created. Sometimes it feels great to raise those arms out to a T or hug emoji. We're breathing deeply into our heart space, soft necks, jaw, and eyes. On a long inhale, sweeping out and up, if you'd like, a little back bend. Exhaling, deep fold, compression, exhale, empty, 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 empty. Inhaling, looking forward a little bit, begin to walk those hands forward. And I'm gonna have you take your feet wide if they aren't already, basically bear pose. We're gonna be doing some lunging here, and I want you to make sure you take really good care of your lower back while we're doing it. So that means making sure these muscles on the front line are drawing into the back as you go ahead and bring your right foot forward into the outside of the mat. It doesn't have to be as far forward as the hand, but we definitely want the knee above it. Inhale, rotating open with the right arm, push the ceiling away. Excellent. Exhaling, bring that right hand down and through, and just think about reaching kind of, it's just like a little thread the needle, reaching behind your left wrist to the other side of the mat. And then we're gonna do that again. Inhaling and opening. Exhaling, belly to spine, you're bringing the rag. And you could do a knee down version of this. Last time. Excellent. And then stepping that foot back. Invitation for a little bit of pumping. So again, maybe you go to knees down, or maybe you stay on your feet. You could do cow-cat. Basically anything that allows us to move that spine back and forth, all the way from the tailbone to the crown. Nice long inhale. On your next exhale, bring that left foot forward into the outside of the mat. Inhaling, open through that left hand. I'm looking up at the sky, but if your neck doesn't like that, look down. Exhaling, do look down, down and through towards that left hand, reaching out beyond the right edge of the mat. And we are doing some wonderful lubrication through the shoulder girdle, the waistline, etc. But it's up to you to always find that just right amount. And release that hand and step back. We're coming all the way to our belly where we'll do a quad stretch. If you know you prefer standing version, go there. Otherwise, this is your first chance for dog series. You could do knee down for the first chaturanga of the day. Inhaling to your knee down plank. Exhaling chaturanga, bend those elbows back. Slow descent. Inhaling cobra. And exhaling, releasing. Might give your wrists a little love here. Sometimes it feels good to rock the hips side to side. So here's how I like to come into our quad stretch because I find it safest for the low back. I'm going to bring my right forearm across the front of the mat, so parallel. Then I'm going to anchor with the glutes and reach back with the left hand for the left ankle. Then slowly settle my forehead on the forearm. Tuning into breath, allow the shoulder to wing in towards the spine. Keep anchoring down progressively with the glutes to create the edge. The edge is a place of intensity that we can welcome like a good massage. Notice that the breath creates the stretch or intensifies it. So don't settle for shallow. And then when you're ready, release. Sometimes it feels good to do a counter stretch right away of curling your toes under and projecting your thigh towards the sky, so you're getting a nice flexion through that muscle you just stretched. We'll cross the left forearm across. Slowly reaching for that right ankle, let the shoulder blade wing in, and slowly return the forehead towards the forearm. Please let me know if you're not getting a good stretch. Sometimes we're prone to hamstring cramps here. If that happens, let it go, do what you need to do. You can always return. The more we wing our knee back in towards the center line, the more we get into proper alignment for this stretch, and usually the deeper the stretch will be. So is this side different? What's knowable? When you come out, you might give it that little counter stretch. Excellent. We're going to come up into our forearm plank. So right here, nice glute squeeze coming onto the forearms. I often will start knees down because I get to scan my back, see how it feels. Then I might curl the toes under and come into a position on the balls of the feet. If you're doing that, remember to squeeze your thighs towards each other and to the sky. Make sure your hips are not dipping. Try to have them up high enough that it's a beautiful, long, and pretty neutral line. Yeah, can you relax in the neck? And inside all this, can we breathe? The grand challenge, can we breathe? And in your own time, gently coming out, we're going to come into our glider plane. So arms are out 90 degrees, shoulder heads circle down the back. And with each inhale, I invite you to extend, and exhale, relax back to the floor. So your extension might involve just the arms coming off the floor. Maybe you're comfortable extending the head and the chest. Maybe you're extending the legs. I find when I have the legs, my low back tends to tighten up, so I often leave them anchored. But again, we have a lot of different bodies here. Guys look good. Keep those shoulder heads really rotating down the back and away from the floor. All right. Last couple of breaths, your option to continue in and out or to hold, and perhaps even extend the arms forward to Superman for one long breath. Exhale and release back to your child's pose. So a fun way to get there is, since your back body is already beautifully extended, bring those hands back, and it's then very easy to just straighten the arms and press back child's pose. It's a lot easier, I should say, than when your body's just floppy. Notice that this shape allows us a breath massage. So if you allow your inhale to be deep, it will register in the back. That'd be marvelous. We're going to be coming into a little flow that starts in downward facing dog, essentially lunging like we did, but we'll be coming up from that lunge. If this is just like not working, you're like, I'm done, I've got my shoulder working for the day, then you would just join us from mountain and step back into the lunge and join us, okay? Otherwise, we're going to start in our downward facing dog, and make sure to take time, again, to get into that front core body. It's so important that that part of the body is supporting us. It's drawing back and then sending the hips up, because then we don't have as much weight in our hands. In fact, just lift one hand at a time a moment and see if you feel core suspended. And then with the feet fairly close together, we'll take the right leg flying. Exhaling, bring it forward and a little bit to the outside, giving ourselves some space today. As you're ready, nice core support, come slowly up into your crescent lunge. And I've taken the feet a little wide on purpose. If it doesn't feel right to you, you can move it back to center. Notice what you need to feel strong and peaceful here. We're going to be hinging into a little jet airplane here. Before we go, I want you to make sure right hip bone's back, left hip bone's forward. And then we're going to slowly bring those arms to our jet airplane and reach from our back heel through the crown of the head. Inhaling back up when you're ready, a little heart lift if you'd like. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Your choice here to hold, rest, or flow. So your flow again doesn't have to be dog series, it can be cow cat, up dog, down dog, or maybe you are just loving this inversion. We'll then send our left leg to the sky. Notice if you dropped a shoulder or anything funky, get back in that core. Beautiful, belly to spine, bring that left foot forward a little wide. Slowly up to your crescent lunge, settle. So left hip bone back, right hip bone forward. I'm hoping what you can feel is that it kind of clicks in those inner thighs. It makes you very stable. If someone tried to push you over, you're like, I'm glued here like a tree frog. Take a nice long inhale, exhale, jet airplane arms, hinge. So we want to feel a beautiful long line, feel the crown, and then this core lift. So resist the temptation to collapse your body onto the thigh. Breathing inside of the power. On a long inhale, rise up. Maybe add a heart lift. I know it's a balance challenge, right? Yes. Think about that ball of that front foot. Anchor through that. Exhaling, release, downward facing dog. We're coming to our bellies again. We're going to do bow pose. So option once more, of course, to inhale to plank. Exhale, chaturanga. My chaturanga sometimes is a 1-inch elbow bend. I find that's where I get the best tricep work. Inhaling to your cobra, and then, yeah, maybe you want to rock the hips a little bit. Sometimes it feels amazing to bend the knees and just windshield wipe those ankles. Entry to bow pose, basically the same as quadricep stretch. So I start with one forearm across the front, my knees back, straight back from the hip joints, pelvis anchors. Reach for one ankle. Keep that chest and head raised as you bend the other knee and reach for the other ankle. And if you had to wing the knee out in order to get hold of that ankle, try to bring them back in. I don't mean touching, just straight back from the hip joints. Broaden the breath. And if it feels appropriate, press those ankles back into the hands. We could also add yoga toes. Flare those toes open away from the balls of the feet. Yeah. Keep thinking about something between your thighs that you could squeeze. Keep anchoring through the butt cheeks. Super important. And then relax and just turn your head to the side. Yeah, so when we breathe into our back, it moves into our lower belly very nicely. Hopefully also down into the hips, anywhere that needs that massage. We're returning to our forearm plank. So my question is, again, how do we make the happen in forearm plank, right? It might be that staying knees down is your way. Maybe just not holding as long, right? You've got options. When you're ready, come on into that forearm plank. Knee down, and then you want to have legs go for it. If you like just a little extra something, you could raise one foot off the floor and then the other. In theory, I love it. I got a good laugh from that one. That's awesome. And it can feel amazing, or sometimes it can feel like, whoa, my body wasn't ready for that. Slowly come on out. We will be returning to our belly for one more round of bow or quad stretch. But if in the meantime your low back is feeling a little, ooh, maybe go to child's pose. Maybe you want to windshield wipe the feet again, side to side, or rock the hips. Oh, I always find sighing breath feels marvelous after being in some powerful poses. I'm going to return to bow pose, and I want to offer a couple of considerations, refinements. This is why it's so fun to kind of do a pose a second time. So one thing you can do is, if you're somebody who you've got a fair bit of flexibility here and you're able to do this enjoyably, is you can actually take your hand around the inside of the ankle, and that can give an extra shoulder stretch. The problem here is a lot of people will end up taking their leg out like that. No, and I feel immediately here, like, we don't want to do that. But for some people, it's amazing. They're like, oh my God, that's the massage I wanted in my chest. It's great, right? Another thing is that if, when we get a hold of both ankles, we can just feel a bunch of pressure right in that low back. Maybe those knees are a little wide. It can be amazing to add the strap, and I mean, come around and just help so you can see if you like that. Because then when you get those knees in, all of a sudden there's both a power and an opening that you cannot feel otherwise. And sometimes it's a matter of an inch. So playing there. If for any reason this is just not appealing, I would invite quadricep stretch again, which of course you know you can do standing as well. All right. So as you're ready, come back on your bellies. Always anchoring through the butt cheeks before we do anything. So as you press your ankles back into either the strap or the hands, yeah, press your ankles back. There you go. And what's fun is it kind of lifts you into a bit of a back bend, a bow, like stringing a bow, like an archer. And so if it doesn't feel quite right, sometimes hiking up higher on the strap or scarf can feel better. Careful, just hike a little bit. Because the press, as our body releases, we might need a slightly different angle. And sometimes you just don't know. Like me with yoga blue strap, I can do it without the strap, but sometimes it just adds a better edge actually. It's kind of fun to notice in this shape, can I breathe into it? And then hopefully on the exhale, there's just more release. I'm hoping you find space in your chest you didn't know you had this morning. Yay, more space. Oh, releasing to whatever resting shape you'd like. Belly, child's pose. If you're wanting to keep heat flowing and you're comfortable in downward facing dog, sometimes that's a lovely resting pose for people. Breathing, noticing. We're going to come onto our feet again, and you're welcome to get there however you'd like. Some of you might enjoy downward facing dog and walk those feet back again. Just notice. Definitely enjoy the time in ragdoll. Maybe even swing those hips a little side to side. We're gonna all meet in tree pose. And I find tree pose to be kind of fun to do after we've already done some leg work, etc. Those legs are maybe worked a little bit. That's great. We don't want the balancing to be too easy. So bring your big toes together, spread the other toes apart, squeeze those thighs, create your tree trunk. And just notice, what's it like to be on a very small base? You might wave your body a little side to side. Challenging. The inner line of the foot is our key here. So you might even look down and say hello. High big toes, hello to the ball, and then it's thigh and butt power down through that line that's gonna hold us up while we bring one foot into kickstand. Maybe up the leg onto the calf. Flaring the yoga toes here can be very helpful as well. If we have a floppy foot, half the time we don't even know where we are. And notice, did your hip cock out? Re-squeeze towards that center line. Add your tree limbs. Breathe. And if this is just not challenging at all, I'd love you to close your eyes. And if you fall out, great. I want you to see, can you stay steady in breath in spite of what's happening to your tree? And something soft and delicate in the mouth, you don't want to squish it. You're ready, come on out. All right, come into the other side. Another thing that can help is that when you do bring your foot into kickstand or up, think about externally rotating the thighs. And it should kind of have the effect of like squeezing the glutes forward and anchoring you into the pose. Versus when people are having a hard time balancing, we get kind of like, I don't know. We want that to be very engaged. And when you're ready, add your limbs. Maybe close the eyes and make it difficult. I also love the challenge of changing my visual focus. So sometimes I'll bring one arm down and follow it with my eyes and then come back up. Breathing slow, deep and wide. Witnessing the gap or pause between the active parts of the breath. Coming slowly on out. Gonna give it like a kick. And then mountain pose, inhale and root and rise, work the back of the mat. Squeeze. Exhaling, fold. Nice deep breath here, compression and expansion. On the next inhale, extend halfway up. Exhaling, tuck the tailbone, sit to chair. A nice breath wave, rising and settling. Inhaling, root and rise. Exhaling, prayer hands, lift the left knee, standing crane. So you're using that same rooting through that inner line of the foot. We're going to be moving forward into a lunge from here. And it can be great fun, unless you have like a foot or an ankle or something that might not appreciate that. You could always step back. Otherwise, long exhale, draw back into your body as you reach through the ball of that foot and land lightly. Maybe, that was pretty good. All right, here we are in our crescent lunge again. I'm going to invite us to do some knee dips. And there's some subtlety available here that I love. If you dip that knee and then you reach the heart forward and up just a little bit, I'm not talking a crazy back bend, you're then working this line, this front line, psoas, hip flexor. All right, we're going to then lower the knee. If you can be on your knee, if you can't, you could do this in crescent lunge. We're going to do a little spinal twisting, right? So I'm going to take an inhale, exhale, round into my back as I take my right arm across onto that left thigh. This, by the way, might be your twist right here, breathing. Inhale, give it room, exhale, lengthening your spine and rotate. And I like starting knee down because then there's no balance part of this, right? See if you can release your left hand and just reach behind you. Just notice if you can get a little deeper in that rotation and maybe look behind. and then slowly release. Come onto the ball of the back foot. Pause, maybe make a little journey forward and back. We're just gonna launch onto that front foot. Don't worry about how high that back leg gets, but ooh, we're working the back line. Alternate is table with that back leg flying. And as you are ready, we'll release that foot and step back, downward facing dog. Maybe you can get the heels towards the floor a little further. I'm definitely feeling a bit warmer. All right, your opportunity for dog series here. Plant the knees, perhaps for your knee down plank. Maybe you're like, I am all about full plank. Exhaling, chaturanga. Inhaling, cobra. Make sure those shoulders slide down. Exhaling, downward facing dog. And slowly walk the hands back to the feet, ragdoll. It's kind of a fun wrist stretch. I say fun, it is for some people. Other people are like, I hate that. So, is to take your hand one at a time under your feet. So I'm going to take my left foot and lift it. I'm going to place my left hand palm up towards the sole of the foot. And I want to get it high enough that the big toe is like right at the crease almost. So from the front, sliding it under. Yeah, and then you'll do the same with the other. And if you kind of curl your toes down into the hand, it can create a nice stretch. Then if you raise your hips a little, tractioning, this can be a wonderful exercise. If you've got current like carpal tunnel irritation, I would not add that. So some of you have got your hands all the way under, some you've got like just your fingers under. This is like literally the whole top of your back hand is laying flat on the floor and your big toe is up at the wrist crease. So it's quite a deep thing. All right, join me please. Inhale, root and rise. Exhaling, prayer hands. And just notice that was a pretty big stretch through the hips and low back too if you got those hands under there. So if you're feeling anything funky, just give it some love. All right, we'll come into that flow on the other side. Inhaling, sweeping up. Exhaling, prayer hands, right knee lifts, standing crane. Shoulders slide down, neck is soft, tongue is soft. Talking to that inner foot. And on the exhale, drawing back to reach forward. Nice work. And playing, dipping that back knee. All of these lunge things feel better in the body when the hips bones are steered. So in this case, right hip bone back, left hip bone forward till you feel you've got those headlights. And you can add an arm reach and a little bit of a movement of the heart forward and up. We're never leaning back because that just compresses. So it's almost like cow pose on your feet. When you choose, come on down to the knee, unless you prefer to stay in a lunge. We're going to ring the rag, as I call it, use that powerful core to place that left elbow on the right thigh, again, either in the lunge or knee down. So you might find that just having that elbow there is plenty of rotation. Maybe it's too much, maybe you just want to use your hand. Maybe you can take your other hand and place it in prayer hands. So your left hand and right hand are meeting. And maybe you can release that right arm to reach behind you and you can follow it with your vision. Keep feeling long from that back foot or knee through the crown. And in your own time, come on out, step back, downward facing dog. This was our last downward facing dog. As a group, if you're craving a final flow, go for it. We're going to be coming onto our backs and we're going to be adding our support under the bra strap. We're also doing a lovely spinal twist after this that should just feel great. We did a lot of twisting, but I had you in a lot of active twisting. So we were using muscles, which can be wonderful, but we're going to create a little softening. So you take that object to support right under the bra strap. And then as you recline your head, if you have a sense that it's anything but make adjustments. Sometimes the object needs to move up or down. Sometimes we just need a little something under our head, a sweatshirt or what have you. And we're going to take just one arm at a time and explore the shoulder joints. So as you're ready, take the right arm to the ceiling and behind, actively reaching straight through the elbow and pulsing away from the ear and in provides a marvelous massage for that shoulder blade and trapezius communication. Place where so many of us are tight. And in fact, if you take your hand and you feel in this position how soft your trap muscle is up here, you're like, oh, and you can even massage it. Take all the time you like here. And of course, at some point, explore the other side. Sometimes I like to also roll my face away from the pulsing arm. It just feels like it gives me a deeper stretch through that kind of flat and side space. See what you think. Some point when you feel complete, relaxing your arms, perhaps palms to the ceiling, don't force it, but just letting those arms kind of be by your side, sort of jet airplane arms, relaxed version. Please begin to watch the breath. Where does it touch you? How does it stretch and massage you? When you are ready to come off, and again, not rushing you, we're going to roll a little to one side. We never want to lift our head directly up after a relaxed pose like this. And let's all come onto our left side in embryo pose. So some of us have really thicker blocks that might not be great for this particular purpose, but one option is, I'm going to even fold up my sweater, to put a little something between the knees, because it will allow that top knee to stay more the hip height instead of dropping down. And so you don't get as much of a pull through the low spine. We want our knees straight forward to the hips, feet flat. Some of us will want something under the head if we feel like the head's just dropping. Otherwise, if you're able to scooch your left shoulder more to the left edge of the mat, you'll come more onto the shoulder blade instead of being on the deltoid. And we're going to make a little journey here back and forth. So I'm going to have you kind of slide your right hand onto your left palm. And I'm going to have you then paint. You can kind of take it all the way up your arm and across your chest and then open behind you. Let's do that a few times. We'll start to marry the breath with that. Inhaling, begin to open the top arm behind. Exhaling, return. And at some point, staying open in your twist, maybe allowing the head to rotate behind. And would it feel good to sweep that top arm once more, reaching for the wall behind you, and then back. Maybe you circle it across the body. I encourage you to notice the very subtle but powerful connections between the alignment and the movement in your arm and shoulder and what happens further down into the spine, the lat muscles as they connect in around the hips. For some people, it can be marvelous to add an extension of that top leg. If I choose to do this, I prop my left elbow on the floor so that I have a nice support with the left hand so that my leg is finding that lovely height, even with the hip. Flexing through the heel and deepening breath can bring us to our edge. And at some point, return to that embryo pose on your left side, and you can always tuck something in under the head. And then in your own time, creating this stretch on the other side. Scooching, bringing your various forms of support with you. So if you're finding yourself somewhere here that you're like, I don't know, this is kind of awkward. Do I need something behind my, under my head, between my knees? What's going on? Give me a holler. I'll come investigate with you. And if you can have your knees straight forward of the hips, that's generally best. Feet flexed. These all help stabilize the low spine so that it feels safe to explore. And now begin taking your top palm and painting across the body, and then opening, and then back. I'm doing this painting thing just sort of for us to notice. It's more subtle than reaching a whole heavy arm at one time. And if it feels lovely, great. Then now you've got a new way to do your spinal twist. At some point, holding in your open position and exploring. Please make it luxurious. Would it feel good to extend that top leg? Again, if so, I would prop my right elbow and have my right hand available for a little bit of support. Sometimes you can use that supporting hand to pull the leg a little higher towards your ear. We're looking again for the edge where you can flex through that foot, take a deep breath, and really welcome that intensified stretch. You'll know when it's time to return to embryo pose, letting that next breath massage the whole belly, back. And if you are just so comfortable as you are, you want to take this straight into your yogic sleep, you certainly may. Otherwise, I'm going to have us return to back body for a brief round of abdominal pumping. You could have knees bent or straight. This would be a great time too to add back layers. Enjoying a long inhale. Exhale, empty the breath. Hold out, external breath block, and draw the belly in as if you're saying, see how skinny I am? And then push out, go to belly. This is all without breathing. So it's a little strange, but you just empty that breath, hold it out. And with that vacuum in place, we get amazing massage for our internal organs as we draw the belly in and push it out. I can feel that stretch move all the way up into my diaphragm, clavicle. And of course, when you need to breathe, let the pumping go. If that felt great, you want to do another round, please do. And of course, from there, anything your body might be craving for balance and harmony. Maybe just bringing the knees to belly, for example. We're going to create as much comfort as we can to prepare for our yogic sleep. I think of this as an integration time. And yoga has helped us massage and connect with so many parts of the body. Our job now is to get quiet and still, tune into breath and body, and let the prana or life force circulate and nourish you. So as you find your resting shape, please scan the body, and if it's not thoroughly comfortable, add support. Need something, give me a way. Stay deeply introverted, aware in the voice. I invite you to notice your breath. Slowly begin to lengthen it, deepen it, returning to compression and expansion where we began. I find this ability to access deeper, wider breath in this way can really transform our day, our life off of the yoga mat. When we find ourselves focused on accomplishing things, stressed, we tend to go into shallow breath. We can notice and come to even one round of compression and expansion. Once again, enlivening our sense of presence, the nervous system, recalibrating. Life gets a little juicier. Thank you each for coming to the mat from today. You felt great. I hope it supports you in everything you are doing this week. See you again soon. Om Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace. Namaste. Time comes, please gently wake yourself. You might find yourself inspired to do some self-massage, scalp, or anything else. If that was a lot of wrist stuff and you're feeling it, you might do some gentle wrist rolls, neck movements. We did not do lion stretch for the jaw release. So this is a lovely time when you're still so body connected to see what, if anything else is needed. Y'all have a great day. And thanks for being here.